Okay, so welcome back. In the previous video in this series, we started working on a Windows C# calculator application. And we started out by doing the difficult part, which is grabbing whatever equation text that the user inputs into the calculator text box and parsing that and converting it into numbers and operators so that we can actually operate on it and give an answer. So that was the tough part. In this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work through developing this UI that looks like a calculator and look at the basic what you need to do in order to put this together. Honestly, it's really pretty straightforward. There's not a lot to it. Let me run this and show you what we got. So here's the calculator application, and basically there's only a few unique components in this. On the top I've got a text box, I've got a single multi-line text box, and I've got 24 buttons, 4 by 6, okay? And I've kind of duplicated this Windows calculator format. We can change that, but I started out with this. And I've got these buttons arranged uniformly. And the way I did that is I used a table layout panel. I think that's the name of it. But basically, it allows you to take an area and separate it into a table or a grid. And you basically tell it, I want 4 columns by 6 rows. And it gives you kind of a grid. And all you have to do is drag and drop your buttons into each member of the grid and expand them so it fills the whole area, and you're ready to go. And you can see it even gives you some intermediate space in between the buttons. Really very nice. And then all you need to do is go into each button and name the button. Like, for example, I named this button BTN1, so I know what it is, and this is BTN CE and BTN Plus. So you rename the buttons, and then I change the font and I change the text to make a 4 in this button and a 5 and so on, and cranked up the font size. And basically that's it. I've got a text box, I've got 24 buttons, and the only thing you need to work on is the event handlers when you press the button. So for example, I press the 6, and what I want it to do when the event fires, I want to append into this text box a 6. And when I hit a 9, I want to append a 9. So basically it's one line for each event handler where I say text box 1, which is this text box, dot append text, and then I put in a 9 or a 6 or a 3 or a times or whatever I'm going to use. So really it's pretty straightforward, and clear basically clears everything. So for example, if I have 56 times 96 minus 3, now I've got the string in my text box, and all I need to do is grab that text string, and the code that we developed in the previous video takes in this text string and parses it so that it's actual numbers and operators and goes through and solves it. So now we're pretty much done with this, and all I need to do is when I hit equals, I haven't put that code from the previous video in yet, but basically it will just grab this text, do the operation, and give you an answer whenever you hit the equal button. So that event handler for the equal button will have all that code we've developed last time, and you're pretty much done. It's really pretty straightforward. So what I'm going to do now is not go in too much detail about building this. It's pretty straightforward, but I'm going to go through some of the basic steps you need to do to put all this together. Okay, so I've started up a blank Windows Forms application, and you can see I got my window here. The first thing I want to do is go over here and put in a table layout panel. Just drag and drop it, and you can see it gives you by default 4 squares. Now what I want to do, remember I've got 4 buttons across and 6 down, so I want to add, so I've got 3 squares or 3 columns. So I've got 4 columns, and then I want to add rows. So I've got 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so here is my table layout, and I can expand it so it fits and run it up, say, this far. Now you can notice these are not equally spaced. So what I have to do is go into this little arrow here and edit rows and columns. Now we'll start with the columns, and you can tell it what percentage you want each column to take. So we're going to go, since there's 4, we're going to go 25. So 25, 25%, 25, and percent 25. And you can see now it's spaced those out with 4 buttons across. Then I can do the same. I select rows, and since it's 6, I'm going to go about 17%. 17, 17%, 17. Okay, so now I've got my buttons all set, and I can expand it if I want. I can drop it down, make some more room. Okay, so now I've adjusted this, and I'm all set to go. Now, the next thing I'm going to want is a text box. So I'll drag that in here. And I'm going to want a multi-line, so I hit that. And now I've got a multi-line, and I can just drag it out however I want it. So now I'm pretty much set. All I need to do is add my buttons. So basically, you just drag a button into one of the squares and use this to fill it in, and there you go, you've got your button. And you can do that for each one. I'm not going to go through each one, but what I'll show you is how you can set the properties for the button. So here's the button. I've gone to properties, and there's a few things I'm going to set. I'm going to go down to font, and I'm going to select a bold and 16. And the text, I'm going to say, let's just say 1 is the text. This is my number 1 button, okay? So that's good. And then really all I need to do is rename the button, and I'll name it BTN1. So when I get the event handler, it will make a little bit more sense. And then I double click on that, and it gives me the application. Here's button 1 click. So I will say text box 1 dot append text, and I will put 1. And that's about it. Okay, so I've got my number 1 button set, so I can start it. And here's my button 1, and there's a number 1 goes. See, it gives me a lot of 1s. So I'm getting there. Now all I need to do is change this text box. So I'm clicking on the text box. So down here is text align, and I can select to the right. And then I'm going to want to change the font also here. So I'll go to here and say bold 14, and now it's right justified. So I can run it. And there's your 1, okay? So that's about it. I mean, you just need to duplicate this in each of these squares and go into each event handler and just copy and paste this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then minus, plus, times, divide, and you're pretty much set to go. Okay, so now what I've done is I've included the code that we did in the last video. And the way I did that is I went up to the calculator project, and add existing item, and I selected the static class called the string helpers from the other project that we developed that in, and it basically put it right in here, and here's all my string helpers. You could copy and paste, you can do whatever you want, but it's a lot easier to just grab it from the other project. So now I've got the helper class, the static class, and all I need to do is go in and add the rest of the code for when I hit the equals button. So here's what my application looks like now. I've got the form 1, and then I've got all the event handlers, the button 1, button 2, button 3, button 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then the button 0, button decimal. And you can see all of them are just textbox1.append text, and for the decimal it's a period or divide and so on. And then when I get down to the equals, this is where all the work gets done. And I basically just copied and pasted the code we did in the previous video. And I said the same code, but I just, instead of the string we put in last time, I said textbox1.text is the original string we're going to work on. And then I removed all the spaces, separated by operators, converted all to doubles, all the values to doubles, and then got a character array list of operators. So now I've got the 2 arrays, and then I just went through the for each, or for the for statement with the switch to determine what the answer is. And finally, I put into the textbox1.append text, and I put it down at the bottom of the text box by doing 2 new line returns, and then I just put the calc answer into there. So let's run it, and you can see I'll do simple one, 2 times 3 equals, and it says equals 6, and I can clear that. 56.39 minus 6 times 8 equals, I guess, 403.12. I'll take its word for it. So that's about it. Really pretty straightforward. I still need to add in, I've got the clear. I just need to add in some of these other, like 1 over x and x squared and square root. But that's about it. So hope that helps. Take care and have a really good day. Thanks.